You're listening to Little Rockers Radio, and today we are talking to one absolutely amazing lady, Julie Cini. Julie is an Australian author, a speaker, and the founder of SMA Australia, and SMA stands for Spinal Muscular Atrophy. Hi, Julie, how are you?
I'm great, thanks.
That's good. Thank you so much for joining us today on Little Rockers Radio. I hadn't heard of spinal muscular atrophy prior to a few weeks ago when I had made contact with you and knew that I was going to be interviewing you. So can we maybe just start off with the most basic of questions, and that's, what is SMA?
Your conversation is not uncommon to many conversations that I have. A lot of people have never heard of SMA, but I bet if I say the word motor neurone, everyone would go, yep, sure, no worries, I know what that is. In a nutshell, spinal muscular atrophy is the childhood version of motor neurone disease, and that means that your muscles are wasting away. Atrophy is the wastage of muscles, not only the muscles you see, like your arms and legs, but all your internal muscles, all your coughing, breathing and swallowing, and quickly wasting away your muscles, and unfortunately it results in death.
And there is no cure, is there?
No, not at the moment. There's some great clinical trials happening, but no cure, no.
Yeah, okay. And from the little bit of research that I did, I could see that there were different types of SMA, so SMA 1, 2, 3 and 4.
That's exactly right. So the younger you're diagnosed, the worse off you are, categorising the types that you have. So if you're diagnosed under 6 months of age, you're usually diagnosed with type 1 SMA. And type 1 SMA is the most severe form of the disease. And usually they say that you live no more than 2 years. Predominantly, though, children with SMA1 usually pass away within the first 12 months of life. Right. And then there's type 2. Type 2 is diagnosed over 6 months of age to about 18 months of age. Then type 3, 18 months of age to about 3 years. And you can also get SMA as an adult or adult onset, or type 4 SMA. So there's varying degrees of it. And I will say that SMA is just a physical disability, okay? Their intelligence is not affected. And we have lots of people come and talk to us about how bright they are, how interactive they are. Their eyes tell you 1,000 stories. If you look at a child that has SMA, they've got the most interactive eyes that you ever can meet, sort of thing. And most of them have been here before. I reckon they're old souls.
Yeah, absolutely. And I read when I was, again, doing the research that for the first, 3 or 4 months, if it's SMA1, for the first 3 or 4 months, you don't necessarily know. How do you then start to know that there may be something wrong? What are the signs?
Okay, so you're exactly right. They're just a normal baby until they start to develop, and they don't actually reach any milestones. So they're still floppy. A child that doesn't have SMA can hold their head up. A child with SMA can't. You've got to really support their head and neck. Their feet may be turned inwards. Their arms may be turned. They have a really big bell-shaped tummy. And for a little child, that probably looks normal, and it does look normal. But it's mainly their movements. They've got a weakened cry. Right. They've got a little or no cough. And yeah, you can. They're just different. They lie there. They're like angels. You sit and you think, oh my God, what a beautiful baby. And they don't look anything different to any other child. It's just that they have very limited movement.
Yes, yep. And how many babies are diagnosed each year, roughly?
With type 1, probably about 15 to 20. Right. Type 2, there's probably, about 30 to 50 diagnosed each year. SMA is a rare genetic disease, so it's the number one genetic killer of babies under the age of 2. We've all heard of, the Rare Disease Network out there. Well, we're on top of that list. I will say that you can't catch SMA. You have to be born with it. So you receive a faulty copy of the gene from both your parents. It's not the fault of the mother or the father. It's both of you passing on a faulty copy. Yep. 1 in 35 people actually carry the gene for disease. That's really, wow. Because, but it's not until you match up with that other 1 in 35 that every time you get pregnant, you have a 1 in 4 chance of having a child with SMA.
Yeah.
So that's pretty big odds. But if you don't, if only one parent carries the gene, there's only 1 in 2,500. So the result is diminished. So that's what we're just trying to educate, making sure that people are aware of this disease. You can actually have a carrier test to see whether you carry the gene. So it's $375. It's offered as a triple test where they test for spinal muscular atrophy. They also test for cystic fibrosis and Fragile X. Now, these diseases are the 3 main diseases that carry the most severity and have the most impact on somebody's life. So they want to try and catch you to see whether you carry the gene or not. And therefore, if you carry the gene and you're thinking of having a pregnancy, then, get your partner tested. I wish I knew about this, 10 years ago when I had my children, because, I would have 2 gorgeous children right now and I don't. So, technology is amazing. And, if for $375, how my life could have been so much different,
Yes, yeah. And I guess it's just the awareness prior, so that you can go out and have these tests. And to go on from that, you had never, I believe, heard of spinal muscular atrophy prior to obviously having your first child, Montana. So can you tell us a little bit about your own personal journey with SMA?
Sure. That's exactly right. I had never heard the word spinal muscular atrophy at all in my life until my daughter was 3 months old, Montana. She had a cold and I took her to the doctor and I said, oh, look, she just doesn't, sounds right. And he said to me, oh, look, I'm not really worried about a cold. I'm just checking her out here and I'm just worried about her reflexes. She's got no reflexes. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And he said, I think I really need to send you to the pediatrician. And the pediatrician lived in the next town and the next town was an hour away. And I'm just like, oh, he goes, I want you to go and see that guy this afternoon.
Right.
Get your husband, sort of thing. And I'm just like, oh my God, something's going on here. Panic. And then he, in turn, said to us, yes, there's something definitely wrong. You need to then go to the Royal Children's Hospital here in Melbourne. And so we were shipped up here virtually, the next day and urgently was seen by, some neurologists up here. It took about 3 weeks to officially diagnose that she had spinal muscular atrophy type 1. But Google was our great friend at that stage, and we probably knew that she had the disease before she was actually officially diagnosed 3 weeks later. Right. And when they diagnose you, or this is what happened to us, they told us, your daughter has SMA1, please take your child home, love it till it dies, there's nothing we can do. And I'm just, you're stunned. As a first-time parent, you're just like, that's my baby, and there's nothing wrong. She physically looked fine. There was nothing wrong with her. She was beautiful. She was great. She would sleep. She would feed great. She never cried. And I'm just like, you're telling me now that my baby's going to die, and she's going to die before she's 12 months old. And as a parent, as a first-time parent, that news is devastating, You never ever want to bury your children, sort of thing. And I'm just like, this disease isn't going to get my child. I was in denial. I thought, there is no way that, there's no way that they're telling me the right thing here. Yes. Anyway, slowly but surely, the signs became, more and more advanced. She was 3 months old when she was diagnosed, and by the age of 5 months, she had a feeding tube because she couldn't swallow. She was actually oxygen dependent because her lungs were quite weak and she needed support in her lungs. We could only lie her on a bed at that age as well, so we had to turn her front back to side every 3 hours. And if I lifted her more than 20 degrees, I'd choke her, and we suctioned her probably 30 to 60 times a day because she couldn't swallow her secretions. It was a really intense experience, and unfortunately she passed away when she was 10 months old. two complications of SMA. Her chest had caved in and she just couldn't support her breathing anymore. And look, you come to realise, you go through a cycle. I went through denial, probably 2 months worth of denial, and then I went through an acceptance phase of, yes, I accept that my child has this. What can I do to make her life better, have more quality of life, And then in the end, I came to the realisation that I knew she was going to pass away, and I had to let it happen, because it was only making more of an impact on me and making the situation worse for me. Yeah. You come to a realisation in the end. It's sort of like a full circle thing. She passed away on the 25th of June 2005, peacefully, and had to happen. But my story continues because obviously we said before I had 2 children, and as we know that SMA is genetic, like I said before. Yes. Me and my partner had another pregnancy in the March of 2006, and we had spoken about you can actually test the fetus at 12 weeks to see whether your fetus carries the gene. So they will screen for spinal muscular atrophy if it's known in your family, and you could then choose to abort your fetus if you choose to, right. Or continue the pregnancy. We, at that stage, we had lengthy discussions, like, arguments. I'm a female, so I don't know about any other females, but I love to just know what's going on. The need to know is, whether it be good or bad, yeah. I just need to know. And that's why I said, can I have the test? He's like, no, we don't need the test. You're not going to terminate the pregnancy anyway, so don't have the test. There's obviously a risk of miscarriage if you have the test. And I'm just like, okay. And he said to me, Jewel, I promise it won't happen again. And I'm just like, don't promise me anything, because, and he had this uncanny knack of being right. I really hated it, because he was right, 95% of the time. Yes. And I believed him. I seriously believed him. And, we didn't have the test. Unfortunately, he was killed in a car accident on the 23rd of May, so he didn't get to, live through that pregnancy. But, he was unfortunately killed turning into our driveway. He was hit by a truck. We lived on a farm at that stage. Right. And I truly believe, I say this all the time, I truly believe that Montana needed him a little bit more than I did. So, something happened for him to go and be with her, so I accept that. But I then went on to have my second daughter, Zarlee. She was born in the December 2006, and quite quickly she was tested at birth, and quite quickly they diagnosed her with type 1 as well. Right. So how unlucky was I? You've got to sort of laugh about these things, because yes, it's cruel, but I often think to myself, what did I do in a past life to deserve this? But I truly believe that things are sent to you for a reason, and whether I spent 1 hour, 1 minute or 1 year with my child, it was going to be meaningful, And I will say that death is an inevitable outcome of this life. We're all going to die one day. It's the journey that you take to get there that matters, not the end point. So after realising, that she had it as well, we just did everything that we could to make her life happy, amazing, fun. We had little adventures, but she had good quality of life, and that's what I really advocate for, good quality of life. I didn't want my child to, have all this stuff done to her just to prolong it. So, hey, look, she's 3 years old now, but she can't actually do anything, So, and that's what I'm a strong advocate for now. I really believe in good quality of life. So, Zarlee lasted 12 months. So 12 months and 12 days. And unfortunately, she died on Christmas Day 2007. So I basically lost the whole 3 of them in 2.5 years to the day. And, yeah, that's a phenomenal feat, unfortunately.
It is. And I said I wasn't going to cry, and the whole time through that I was sitting here quietly crying, so I'm sorry. But you mentioned about excuse me, sorry.
It's okay. It tends to have that effect. It's such a big experience that you just can't. I say to people I can make them cry in 30 seconds flat because it keeps coming out and it's more phenomenal as it sounds, and I'm okay explaining it, but if someone introduces me and says to me, oh, this is Julie, she did this and this and this, I start tearing up myself. I think to myself, who's that lady? That lady's amazing. Oh my God, that lady's me,
And I guess you get to the point where you're serving a purpose now in terms of generating awareness and helping families. You say that you learned through all of that how important it is for quality of life.
I do not want a parent to go through what I went through. There is no one out there that is willing to turn around and answer the tough questions. What's going to happen when my child, gets into strife and that situation comes where that possibility they might die? What happens in that process? Who wants to answer those questions? There's not many people that can do it. But for me, it's like on someone's saving grace. If only they knew this 10 minutes ago, if only they knew this, at the start of the journey rather than at the end. And I don't give them all the information all at once, obviously, but they're invited to ask questions the whole way through. If there's something that I can say, oh, maybe you should try this. What about that, And it just lets them think outside the square. It's, someone who has, I don't know how to talk to someone who has cancer, for example, because I don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
But I can talk to someone who has SMA because I've been there, I've lived it, I've done it. I know what's happening. They can tell me something and I go, oh yeah, I remember that. You know what I mean? And that's the most amazing empathy to have.
Absolutely.
And that's the most amazing gift that you can give someone is telling them something that will make their journey a little bit easier. Don't go and research all the stuff yourself. I've got it.
Yeah.
Why reinvent the wheel? I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess there was nothing like that. There was no sort of support. You mentioned you came home from the Royal Children's Hospital. They said, go home and wait, basically. So there was no support for you at all? There was nothing in place?
No, nothing. We've had to muddle around on the internet. We found a couple of lovely people over in America. And look, America is a totally different kettle of fish. They're very different and proactive in what they want for their children. Here in Australia, it's very different. For example, if you want a tracheostomy over there, which is a breathing tube straight down your throat, they will give that to you, no questions asked, off you go. But here in Australia, it's the last resort, and actually it's so much of a last resort that they're still refusing to do it. So, there's the clear difference between Australia and America. But look, I don't think a tracheostomy is the way to go, but you need to talk about the whole picture. Yeah. It's not just whether we're keeping our child alive. For what purpose? Do we have to keep them alive till they're 10, till they're 15? Why?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, absolutely. Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to learn to let them go, and that's what I've learned to become for these people.
Yeah.
I unfortunately help families get their children to the other side, and it's not a great job title, but hey, somebody's got to do the hard yards, and I continue to do that every day. And look, it brings up a lot of emotion for me, every single time I do it. You have to go out to someone and say, yes, it's probably likely that your child will pass away, but in the meantime, let's try this, 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 and this to make sure that you've got a good quality of life. So,
yeah. And
I literally went out to one last week, a little 4.5-month-old little girl, and just sitting there reliving, it just sends, chills up my spine, reliving what happens, and just just to guide them. And before I left, they're both like, oh my God, thank you so much for spending some time with us. They don't do this at the children, at the hospital. And I'm just like, that's because the hospital are clinicians. They diagnose, they don't support.
Yeah.
That is their job. You know, you've got to go and get support externally. And that's what our support organisation does. It externally supports these people through that journey.
Yeah, and I assume that the hospital are obviously now well and truly completely aware of SMA Australia and refer families to you. That's the process. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a great couple of programs here. For example, one of our programs is called the Cough Assist program, and a Cough Assist machine is basically a machine that helps children with SMA cough because they, as I said before, they have little or no cough reflex. So this machine is a mask that goes on, quickly bursts down a burst of positive energy, quickly followed by negative, simulating a cough. So you put this on and you go cough, 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 take it off, have a breath, do it again. And these machines are worth $10,000 each. The hospitals don't provide these machines, and SMA Australia has over 10 years fundraised for 30 of these machines.
Wow.
And we now loan them out to our families so that they can treat SMA in their own home, so they don't have to go to hospital. And for example, our first little boy had got our machine 8 years ago, and he used to be in hospital every 6 weeks with a chest infection. Well, he hasn't been back for years because the Cough Assist machine can do all that work at home. So his parents idolise me. It's really bad. And actually, I was at the children's the other day, and another family, and she's the same. If oh my goodness, you know, if you didn't show us this, I can't thank you enough, you know. And I'm just like, settle down. Yeah. It's okay. I'm just Jewel.
yeah, but it's all new to them though. And is there any government support for SMA Australia?
No, there isn't. So we raise all our own money. And look, in the charity sector, that's really hard these days because there's lots of people out there that have got their own plight that, you know, are trying to raise money. Crowdfunding is huge these days, and, you know, we are really struggling. So, you know, it's a really hard, sort of sector to be in at the moment, especially with so many other charities out there. And of course, the likelihood of, you know, other well-known charities, you know, not using the funds for anticipated purposes puts a spin on our charity, you know, backwards sort of thing. So that can really hurt you. And, you know, it would be horrible to see, you know, a small charity like ours fold because, you know, of guilt by association sort of thing.
Yeah,
so that can be really hard as well.
Yeah, and it may be a small charity, but the work that you do is obviously not small in any way whatsoever.
No, that's exactly right.
And you do, I was having a look on the Facebook page and on the website, so you do a number of, and I can see community does also get involved, obviously families who have been touched by SMA predominantly, but they get involved with fundraising as well. There's, I think,
definitely.
Yeah, that coming up, the Made in May auction, the Mother's Day raffle.
That has been amazing. Like, you know, we've had, and I say to people, many hands make light work, you know, and a small donation may contribute to that bigger picture. So we've had people that have been sending in their items to auction, and we're going to be auctioning a couple of items each day of the month. And, to get it, you know, going, raising awareness for the whole month of May, and just getting it out there. And a Mother's Day raffle, we've got a great 50-inch smart TV up for grabs. So, it never ends. You know, we've always got to look for where we're going to raise our next dollar. And, you know, that is, you know, unfortunately money makes the world go round. If I could do it for nothing, I'd happily do it. But, you know, we just run like any other business. We need to pay our rent and our telephone and all that sort of jazz.
Absolutely. And just the equipment costs you mentioned before, the $10,000 cost per machine. Like, to be able to do that to make people's you know, their lives better and give them quality of life in some way, shape or form is paramount importance anyway.
Yes, definitely.
And the SMA Gala dinner, is that comes up in August. Is that the major fundraising event for SMA Australia, is it? Yep.
Yeah, it is, because August is SMA Awareness Month all over the world. So we usually have a gala to celebrate and culminate the year and the month of raising awareness. So we've got a Hollywood glamour theme this year in the city, and it's shaping up to be an amazing night. So it's one night of the year we all get to let our hair down. Doesn't happen very often, but once a year is okay. And even for me, it doesn't happen till after 9 o'clock.
And
sure it goes all right.
And I mean, Hollywood glamour, that's always nice, isn't it? Because it gives you a chance to really go get dressed up to the nines.
Yeah, who doesn't love getting dressed up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, if people obviously want to help by donating to the Made in May or buying Mother's Day raffle tickets, they're best to visit the website, are they?
Yeah, so there's a big purple pig on the front page of the website. That's Violet, and Violet loves collecting donations. So they can go there and make a donation, and just write in the comments section if they want to, buy a raffle ticket or whether it's a donation, and we can organise to send them their raffle ticket. If they want to make a donation for the Made in May, they can email us at reception@smaaustralia.org.au with what they've got, and we'll organise to get it picked up or sent here. We're based in Melbourne, so we're more than happy to acknowledge and thank and get as many people to support us as possible. That would be amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. And Little Rockers Radio will put together. We have some great partnerships with the 5 Mile Press, and also obviously a lot of musicians. So we'll put together a big pack with books and music CDs and all those sorts of things that will.
That would be lovely. Thank you very much.
Now, just before I go, I did want to touch on one more thing I'd come across, and that's obviously from the entire experience that you went through. You established SMA Australia. You've also written a book titled Leaving Life Legacies, and obviously the devastating life events that you've been through have led you to say it is your greatest personal growth. And what the strategies that you learnt for coping and that personal growth you've documented in that book. Is that right?
That's correct. So I wrote the book. I've always wanted to write a book to be able to express what happened to me. Sometimes it's easier for people to take things home and have a bit of a read and, contemplate, I guess, the story in their own time. But one of the chapters in that book is about coping strategies and how I cope through the loss of my children. And look, these strategies can pertain to everyday life. I still use them in my everyday life setting. I get out of bed every day and I be happy because that's what my family, as in my children and my partner that passed away, that's what they would want me to do. So I get up and I try and live by these every single day. I want to impart that on others, because sometimes life's little stresses can get to us, and there's 12 strategies in there, and sometimes just sitting down and having a read and saying, oh yeah, let's try that today. That might make a difference. And, I've had so many people that have read the book already one lady quit her job, and I'm just like, whoa, hold on a minute. Don't go do that. But she was nearly at retirement age anyway. She said no. She said, I want to retire and be with my husband, want to travel around Australia and spend time with the grandkids. And I'm just like, in that case, go for it. Yeah. But it changes their life, their perception on, what's important to them, how they should be processing things. And, basically the situation of me losing my children has made me think and live for every single day. Sometimes I don't plan things too far in advance because I honestly can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. So live for today, be happy for today, and, continue to make a difference every single day, and that's what I try to do. So, yeah.
Well, sorry, Dawn.
It's a how can I put it? it's a philosophy that, you know, might not be in everyone's sort of radar, but it's one that I need to live by because of my situation.
Oh.
So, you know, I pay it forward every single day to be able to try and make a difference in somebody else's life. And that's what I want people to see. Yeah, I've had a really crappy time, you know, of losing my family, but I want people to see what I do out of it, and that is, you know, inspiring others and, you know, raising awareness and you know, funds for a beautiful little charity that my kids are very much a part of. You know, who gets to talk, everyone wants to talk about their children every single day. I still get to talk about my kids every single day. They just don't live with me in person, they live in my heart, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the thing that I need to do to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are, which is an amazing thing. Now, where can people buy the book?
Okay, so they can buy the book from my personal website, which is juliecini.com.au. It's $24.95, and $5 of that goes towards SMA. I'll donate, you know, back some money to support the charity. So they're still supporting SMA if they would like a copy. Just at the printers now for a second edition, so they'll get an updated version. There's plenty of new photos and new material in there, and yeah, it's. I'd love to be able to share my journey with others and inspire others to get out there and make a difference.
Absolutely, and you are. Now, all the links are on our website, which is littlerockersradio.com.au, or people can obviously visit smaaustralia.org.au or juliecini.com.au direct. But as I said, all the links will be on our website. Julie, thank you so much for your time today. You are an absolutely remarkable woman. We thank you for all that you've done in creating SMA Australia and helping families who are obviously going through what is a very difficult and confusing time. And thank you so much for joining us today on Little Rockers Radio.
No worries. Thanks for having me. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.